要我用英文讲还是中文讲？中文讲，用英文讲好了。好，sorry. So we are very happy to invite the Professor Kim. I prefer to call him like that. Man-Keun Kim, and from the South Korea. Sorry, is it from United States, Utah University? And he visits the Zhengxi University for, I think, it's 45 days, and give the lectures for econometrics and IBPA. So I think he stayed here, teach in the weekend. So if you are interested later to follow his course, then you can contact him later. And it's a it's a full English course, so you may be interested in it. Today we are very happy to invite him to give us the seminar and something related to the tourism. So it's selling Utah, how much Mighty 5 helps boost the tourism and the Utah economy. So we give him our most welcome.
Thank you very much. As Professor Charlie Chan introduced, my name is Man-Keun Kim from Utah State University. Yeah, I'm right. You're right. I'm a Korean. Okay, so let me begin with location of Utah first. And Utah is located in the western side of the U.S. It's right here in red. And the yellow star is Salt Lake City, which is the largest city in Utah. It's located somewhere right here. And for the comparison, I have a relative map to the Taiwan over here. So you may guess from the national parks I will discuss in a minute are located somewhere here in the southern part. So from the Salt Lake City, it is like 5 to 6 hours driving. And here is the another map to explain the location of 5 national parks in southern Utah. As you may see, we have Zion National Park here, in Bryce, Capitol Reef, Canyonlands, and Arches Park. And the red lines right here is interstate highway. So interstate highway goes from north and south. This is 15 towards Las Vegas here, and keep going to the Los Angeles in California. And this is the Interstate Highway 70, goes to the Denver, Colorado, is right here. So the largest city in the southern Utah is right here. It's named St. George. It's around 170,000. Well, it's a big city in Utah, but relative to Taiwan, it is not a big city, it's a small town. And here is the picture of Zion's National Park. The Utah has very different climate from Taiwan. It's a very dry area. It is like desert area. It looks like that. And this is Arches National Park. And this arch is the kind of symbol of Utah State. So this is the Utah State license plate. As you may see, here's the arch. And this is the Bryce Canyon. And this is a Capitol Reef. Altogether, there are, in the US, roughly 51, I guess, national parks, and 5 of them are located in Utah, by the way. And this is a Canyonlands. Okay, so the tourism sector in Utah is pretty big industry. And I listed a top 15 states by visitor spending. The California is the number 1, close to the visitor spending is close to $2 billion. And other 4 states like Alaska, North Carolina, Arizona, and Utah are slightly more than $1 billion. Which means that I may say Utah is kind of top 2 states in tourism industry. And I have a graph here for the Utah. So in 2017, there was $1 billion, slightly more than $1 billion in visitor spending. Among them, most of them goes to hotels, restaurants, and retailers, and gas and transportation, which means that the visitor spending who visit the national parks and other state parks is a very important source of income in southern part of Utah. And these expenditures supported roughly 18,000 jobs in that area, which is big, and $547 million in labor income is a wage and salary, and slightly less than $1 billion in value added. And here's the number for 2017. It keeps growing over time. Okay, so my define. So the tourism industry is very important to Utah economy. So Utah government has promoted the 5 national parks named as a Mighty 5, and to attract the out-of-state visitors to those 5 national parks, which began in 2013. So the Mighty 5, this is the ad campaign. Again, it is an effort to attract out-of-state visitors to 5 national parks. The TV programs, website, the digital billboards, magazines, and wordscapes and large buildings. Let me show you some of them. This is the Mighty 5 ad campaign on magazine. And this is the wordscapes on large buildings. And this is the kind of a logo, 5 national parks, one epic experience. By the way, I believe I can use the internet here. So let me show you the Mighty 5 ad campaign in video.
Yes.
Yes. This is yes.
Picture this, your next trip, Utah, 5 national parks. First, Zion. You're walking, the ground rises, the ground drops, the ground becomes water. Next, rice. You're riding a mule. You're riding a mule under giant orange drip castles. You are not dreaming. You will not forget this. On to Capitol Reef. Take the scenic route. The scenic route. Take a path you've never taken and see the stars for the first time. Now for Canyonlands. You're riding a bike. You're riding a bike on Mars. Now you're riding rapids. Class 2, Class 3, Class 4, Classic. Arches, 5:32 a.m. Some things are worth racing the sunrise for. The horizon lightens. You round the corner. Whoa. This is Life Elevated. The Mighty 5. 5 iconic parks, 1 epic experience. Plan your trip at visitutah.com.
Okay, this is the promotion video.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, dead.
Here.
As I showed you, that is the Mighty 5 ad campaign video, which was broadcasted in a theater, TV program, and you may see in an airport as well. That's another Mighty 5 video, by the way. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the big question we have, and Utah government, and as a researcher, we have a big question about, is it successful? So it seems like it. So the Utah have more visitors. So roughly, this is the estimation done by strategic marketing and research firm, and the Utah may have roughly 6.5% more visits from the ad campaign. However, it is not a statistical method, that's the problem. The big problem we have is that, there are complicating factors, which is after a great recession, financial crisis between 2007 and 2009, all the national parks in the US has strong positive increase in number of visitors simultaneously, and I will show you in the figure in a minute. So, if we wanna see whether the My5 ad campaign is successful, we have to separate somehow the, as I said, background effect of rising vegetation to the old national parks. That's the big issue right here. So as you may see here, this is the, I picked some national parks in terms of visitors. So for example, the Glacier National Parks in Montana has the gray dotted line here is 2013. And for some reason, well, because of economy is good, recovered from the financial crisis. So the visitor numbers is increasing. But there's no ad campaign in Montana. Look at the Grand Canyon is increasing after 2013. Grand Teton, we have a positive slope increase. Great Smoky, Yellowstone, Rocky Mountain, and Olympic National Park. Most of the national parks in the US has positive shift after 2013. And here is a Zions National Park in Utah, also has a positive slope. So we do not know the change in visitor numbers in Zions Park is due to the ad campaign My5 or the background effect in rising in vegetation. That is the complicating factor we have to think about. Let me skip this one. So I just plot the number of visitors for 3 national parks for comparison. This is the Great Smoky National Parks, and as you may see, we have a positive slope, the increase in visitor after 2013. At the same time, the Grand Canyon has a positive slope, more visitors after 2013, and this is a Zions National Park. So now you understand what is the problem. So, how do we measure the effect of My5? You may think of difference in difference, which is the comparison before and after the intervention here at the campaign. So we can compare the visitor numbers in Zions National Park and other there's no ad campaign, and we can compare the numbers, right? So here is the kind of stylized difference in difference approach. So here YIT is a number of visitors, I is a national park, and T is a time. The D2013 in D Zion is a dummy variable, and this is interaction. Some other factors, of course, to explain number of visitors. So before 2013, D2013 is a 0. And park outside Utah, the D Zion will be 0. That's a 0. So beta 0 will be the number of visitors. Well, we have to add other factors, by the way. So that's the number of visitors for the control or national park without any ad campaign. It's right here. After 2013, now D2013 will be 1 because dummy variable. Zion's 0 is 0 again. So beta 0 plus delta 0 will be the visitor number in other national park. For the Zions National Park, which is in Utah, so now D Zion is 1. So before 2013, when we don't have any My5 ad campaign, then the number of visitors will be beta 0 plus beta 1 here and there. After 2013, now 2013 becomes 1, and we have a delta 1 here. So this is the visitor number after 2013 with ad campaign. So this is the difference between these two, and this is the difference between national park outside Utah and Zion National Park. So treatment is a Zion National Park, and control is a national park without ad campaign. Now we will have delta 1 as the effect of ad campaign. Now, the problem is that in English, we can say we are comparing orange and apple, or apple and orange, which means that we cannot compare each other because they are different. So, to use the difference and difference approach, or this equation, we must have almost identical national park. So that we can compare orange and orange, not orange and apple, right? The question now, how control or comparison group is chosen. Which national park is similar to the national park in Utah? So can we have credible control group or not? My answer is no, we can't. Because the national park is very unique. Weather-wise, you can name it anything, right? So national parks are very different from each other. The Zions National Park in Utah is very different from the Yellowstone in Wyoming or some other national parks in California. So, as I said here, there is likely no single national park that is similar or close to any of national park in Utah. Then how do we overcome this problem? There was a study in 2010. They are statisticians. They suggested synthetic control method, which is the kind of development of a difference in difference, which is now because there's no credible or good control national park. Why don't we create or make a synthetic national park? So as I said, forming counterfactual or selecting the control group. And here's the kind of illustration. Now Zions National Park looks like this. It's a very unique shape. Now we have a different national parks here. I have 4 national parks, for example, here. They have a very different shape. So we cannot compare this and that, right? Instead, use those 4 different national parks, create synthetic national parks like this. And then we can compare the numbers, digital numbers. So synthetic this is the meaning of a synthetic. It's made artificially and not produced from natural substances, especially to imitate a natural product. In this case, natural product is the actual Zions National Park. And I didn't say here, a man-made, this is about synthetic fabrics, by the way, made from man-made, which means that now we're gonna create or make synthetic national park using other parks. Now let me explain how to do it. Say YIT is a visitor numbers for National Park I in year T, and I have T0 here when the intervention happened, in this case, My5 ad campaign. So let's name YITN. So N means there is no intervention or ad campaign. And YIT is there is intervention. So before 2013, all the national parks in the US do not have any ad campaign. So before 2013, the visitor number without ad campaign is the same as visitor number with ad campaign, right? Well, there's no ad campaign, by the way. But after 2013, we will have visitor number in Zions National Park with ad campaign. This is observed. We can find that the number. And this is the number without ad campaign, which is not observable. We don't have this information, right? Now, we will create, in a definitive approach, we will use the number from other national park. In a synthetic control method, we're gonna create synthetic Zions National Park, and we will estimate unobserved visitor numbers without ad campaign, and we can compare these 2 numbers and see if we have a positive effect or not. By the way, any question, you can stop me anytime. Now, how do we find unobserved the visitor numbers in Zions National Park? Here's how. It's kind of weighted average of other national parks. So now we will estimate WI, that's the weight, using the park visitor numbers in other national parks. And the visitor numbers is explained by some explanatory variable, like now we are estimating kind of demand function. The demand function means that demand of national park services. So the ZIT is the vector of explanatory variable to explain visitor numbers in other national park outside of Utah. And WI is the estimated weighted, which is close to the explanatory variable in Zion's National Park. At the same time, the weighted average of the visitors of outside the national parks, outside of Utah national parks, is close to the visitor numbers in Zion's National Park before 2013. And the vector or weight is estimated to minimize the mean square error. It's like least square approach. Any questions so far? Okay. Now we have some data set to explain visitor numbers. So we use annual national park level data from 1993 to 2017. And the Mighty 5 started in 2013. So we will use 20 years of a data set from 1993 to 2012 to estimate or create synthetic national park in Utah. And we have some predictors which are here. Budgets of a national park as a proxy for the park popularity and park age, distance to the big city, gas price, and the cooling degree day to control the weather over there, the number of national parks like 1,000 miles, and so on, based on the study done by Hendrickson's and Johnson's. And there are many studies to explain number of visitors, so we can use those predictors. Now, I estimate the weight W and create synthetic national park in Utah and plot them here. So the actual time path of vegetation in Utah national parks are the black solid line. The dotted line is the visitor numbers of synthetic or corresponding the national park in Utah. Before 2013, it should be close, right? Because we estimate that way. And after 2013, as you can see here in Arches National Park, this is an actual number, actual vegetation, and this is a vegetation from synthetic Arches National Park. It has a very positive impact, but the actual visitor is much larger than the synthetic, meaning that the Mighty 5 campaign may have positive effects. Bryce Canyon, you can see the same pattern here. Canyonlands, not so much. Capitol Reef, we have some impact. Zion's, not so much. So to compare the numbers, I calculate the gap between these two lines right here. So this is the actual number. This is a visitor from synthetic control. So it will be negative, something like that. It's like a residual from the least square approach. So before 2013, the gap between actual vegetation and the vegetation from synthetic national park must be around 0, something like this, right? Which means that we have a good weight. Beyond the 2013, now we have some positive change, like this, as we made. But not so much in Zion's National Park.
So sorry.
Yes.
So how many national park can you try to build up your synthetic? Synthetic.
Like a 46
So 40. So you
outside of Utah.
So you calculate the average of 45 or 40 national park, or you run the panel data to estimate the weight.
Correct. Correct.
Panel
Yes.
data?
Yes.
Yes.
Using the data set, I estimate the W
Yes.
and find out synthetic national park.
Yeah, that's for the 45.
Yeah, 45, 46.
So how do you calculate the average for 45 first for each variable? When you run the regressions?
It is not a regression.
No.
Let me go back to the slides.
So how
So
do you estimate that?
yes, to satisfy, not satisfy. So find out the actual vegetation minus synthetic vegetation and find out the difference and square it and minimize this guy.
Yeah, I mean that is synthetic,
Yes.
WIYIT. Is it,
So YIT
you
is
have
the
45 on it.
correct.
Yes. So
Yes.
we're taking the average for YT. Am I right?
Yes, that's the weighted average. That is correct.
Yeah.
But most of WI is a 0. So we are using like sometimes 4 or 5 national parks, which is close, which has the similar characteristics
Yes.
to the Utah national parks, of course. Like for example, the Grand Canyon is close to the Utah. I don't remember the exact weight, but many synthetic national park has Grand Canyon as one of the national parks to create synthetic. So many of them are 0, of course. So 0 for the national park in northeastern part, for example. They're very different weather, very different characteristics. Okay, so before 2013, as I said, the gap should be small. So before 2013, the gap was like -2% or 0.3%. But beyond 2013, now we have much larger difference. For 5%, the Zions National Park, and 29% in Bryce Canyon. So this is the kind of evidence that ad campaign has the positive impact, or ad campaign increased the number of visitors in the national park in Utah. Until now, it is not a statistical approach, by the way. So we may try placebo test, which means that, let me explain. Let me go back to the slides and show you. Say, this is Great Smoky National Park. Say, Great Smoky National Park has ad campaign in 2013 and create synthetic Great Smoky National Park and compare the number. If the positive one right here is distinct from or different from the synthetic Great Smoky, then now the result we have here is just kind of accident right here. If not, that's another evidence that the ad campaign has an impact. So this is what I did. Look at the arches part. And this is the gap between actual vegetation and synthetic Arches National Park, which is the same as this one. And the gray lines right there is other national park outside Utah. And we redo the synthetic control and create synthetic national park and find out the gap. So this is the evidence that the gap in vegetation Arches Park is, how do I say? It's very different, significantly different from the other national park. Here's the Bryce Canyon, same story. Canyonlands, same is evident. Capitol Reef, yes, but not the Zions National Park. So there are some national parks where there are more vegetations comparing to the synthetic Zions National Park. So Zions National Park may not have an effect of an ad campaign. This is another way to see if the intervention and ad campaign has a statistically significant impact or not. So now we can calculate after MIDI5 MSPE and using the pre-MIDI5 MSP and post and find out the ratio. the MSPE was like residual between actual vegetation and the vegetation from the synthetic, right? So the pre-MSE, pre-modified MSPE will be smaller than post, because if ad campaign has a positive impact, after 2013, the synthetic control or synthetic national park cannot explain the vegetation numbers. So the MSPE will be much, much larger than pre-modified. If modified doesn't have any impact, the post-modified MSPE will be similar to the pre-modified MSPE, and the ratio will be small. So here, this arches park, and I ordered over the ratio of post-MSPE to pre-MSPE, and Arches Park is somewhere here, so number 3. The ratio is number 3, meaning that roughly 6%. The Bryce Canyon and Canyonlands is number 1, meaning that the ratio, so post-modified MSPE is much larger than pre-modified MSPE, meaning that the actual vegetation is much larger than the vegetation of synthetic national park in Utah. Capitol Reef is the number 1, but not the Zion National Park, as we may guess. It's like 40th, ranked in 40th, which means that 80%. So we can conclude that modified has an effect in 4 national parks: Arches, Bryce Canyon, and Canyonlands and Capitol Reef, but not the Zions. Okay, so here's kind of a wrap up. The modified campaign is designed to attract more visitors to the national park in Utah, and evaluating the effectiveness is important in policy implication. It has a big policy implication. But after 2013, which is the end of a financial crisis, the economy was pretty good. So many national parks across the US have experienced growth in the number of visitors simultaneously. That complicates the problem. So using the synthetic control, we can find that the ad campaign was effective, and it raises visitations at 4 Utah National Park, other than Zion, and we failed to find the treatment effect in Zion's National Park. So the Zion's National Park has more visitors, of course, as I showed you in this figure. Right here, we have more visitors after 2013, but this is not because of ad campaign. This is because of background economic impact. So here, the visitors in Zion National Park was driven by the national trends, not the promotional effects of the Mighty 5. So what is the impact? The Mighty 5 was estimated to have additional 1 million visitors annually, which is roughly 10% more visitors. Annually, Utah has more than 10 million visitors to those national parks. And the Mighty 5 support will increase roughly 2,000 more jobs, which is very important to the southern Utah area. By the way, southern Utah is a very remote places, so 2,000 jobs is pretty big. And what was the cost of Mighty 5? Roughly $3 million. So what was the estimated impact? $140 million annually. It's a pretty big benefit-cost ratio. Oh yeah, thank you. This is it, what I have. If you have any comments, you can make a comments now, or you can send me comments to here. And my office is up there, 617. So if you have any comments or feedback, it's more than welcome.
Any question?
Yes.
So you mentioned the W value for each national park when you're synthesizing
National Park in
national
Utah.
park.
Yes.
You said most of the W are 0, right?
Correct.
And only a few of them, like maybe 5 are not 0?
5 or 6. I don't remember exact number. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so based on that, how do you determine if you're going to put in like this? Is it 0 value or is it like more than 0? Like, is it based on the distance you just said or something like that?
Yes. So because this is a weighted average, sum of all the weight must be 1.
Okay.
That's another constraint, and I find the W value, and this is the basic equation I'm using it
Yeah.
to find Wi star.
Okay. So, and another question is, so you said Zion is not being affected by the campaign.
Yes.
So you said the reason why it's like the most increased number out of the other 4 is because of the economic background and the
Yes. So here we have more visitors after 2013 in Zion's National Park as well.
Okay.
And this is the Grand Canyon, and this is the Great Smoky.
Okay.
So using the synthetic control, I found that the positive trend or more visitors right here is not because of ad campaign. It is because of national economy, like the other national parks.
Okay.
How do I know that? So here, the gap between the dark line is the actual vegetation, and dotted line is the visitors from synthetic.
Yeah.
So they are very close.
Mm-hmm.
And here too, it's close to 0. We have more visitors, of course, but it is not statistically significant. The reason I'm saying that here is because the pre and post MSP is not that big.
Okay.
Meaning that after 2013, the weighted average or synthetic national park explains the visitors very well.
All right. So the other 4s, are they also affected by the economic boost or background?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So here we have some positive increase. So
Okay.
this is because of economy.
Okay.
And the difference between these two, right here, this bit, is because of ad campaign.
All right. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
So does this mean, sorry, okay. Does this mean the government doesn't need to do anything for Zion region because there's no effect for putting any efforts on it? Just letting the economic situation to boost.
Yes or no? Actually, the Utah, not Utah, it's a nationwide problem. So most of the national parks have a problem with congestion. There are too much visitors. And in Utah, Zion has the problem. We have too many visitors to Zion National Park, and visitors have to wait at least 2 hours to enter the national park in the peak season. So, well, I don't know what to say. Yes, we know that the ad campaign doesn't have any impact on Zion National Park. But the other parks, yes. So we can use the ad campaign to send the visitors from here to other national parks, which is another strategy. As I showed you in the map, I forgot to say that, by the way. We have an interstate highway, and Zion National Park is very close to the big Las Vegas area. So most of visitors fly to Las Vegas and take a shuttle bus to and arrive at Zion National Park. And they visit Zion National Park and go back home. That's why it's very congested. And they have roughly half of the visitor numbers, 5 million. But Arches and the Canyonlands is a remote area. It takes much more time to arrive here. So the visitors doesn't like to visit those national parks. But we have an ad campaign, and they have a significant more visitors. So that's another way to spread visitors to Zion's National Park to other national parks. That is the main reason for me not to include the 2018 number, because there was a new ad campaign which is started 2018, which is Road to Mighty 5, which is the Utah government tried to spread out the visitors to other national parks.
I also related to like the national park. Actually, the campaign has a positive impact, and right.
Positive impact in Zion's.
The campaign provides the positive impact on all the.
Just the 4 national parks, not Zion.
Right, but in general, the purpose of giving the campaign is to increase the visitors, right?
Right.
But according to explanations, the Zion National Park automatically increased
Because of the nationwide economy is pretty good.
So then, in that case, for the local community, they also want to increase the visitors.
You already have what?
Okay, I don't think I understand your question, but of course local governments want to have more visitors because that's very important for their economy. So this is the Washington County right here. They don't want to spread the visitors out. They don't care because that's the money for them. So, well, again, I don't understand your question.
Okay.
Local governments want to have more visitors.
Okay, because,
yes.
Because the situation is already congested, right?
Yes.
Yes, and then it also was having the promotions, the campaign, but it doesn't affect much compared to 4 national parks.
Correct.
So I want to know what is the implications from these studies if like
implication of this study.
Implication from these studies for the Zion National Park.
For the okay.
What kind of approach?
To increase the visitors? Well, I don't know. I don't know. Utah government tried to increase the visitors all 5 national parks. 4 of them works, but not this one. The main reason, I guess, is because it's already congested. So the ad campaign doesn't have a big impact on visitors to the Zion National Park. That's one explanation. Policy implication, well, Utah government loves this study because now they have kind of a measurement of policy impact. They spend roughly $3 million for this campaign, but now locally they have annually more than $100 million to the local economy, which is very successful actually. So that's the big policy implication.
Is there any question?
Yes.
So you mentioned earlier, so the Zion's kind of like a saturated situation.
Yes.
Is that what you're suggesting?
You can say that, yes.
Okay, so since it's so saturated, the locals still want
more visitors.
More
Yes.
visitors? So this
Yes.
is what I'm understanding per question, and then reforming like, so if the situation is so saturated, they want more visitors to
The
come?
local residents depends on the visitor spending in the peak season. If they have more visitors, meaning that they have more income.
Yeah, but sometimes we face the situation where the outsiders or people from outer states don't really know like the local culture or the local situation, and sometimes cause problems and stuff.
Yes, there are many complaints. But we need more parking space, right? We have to expand entrance time, more camping spots, and so on. Yes, you're right. There are many complaints from visitors.
Oh, okay.
Because the park is congested.
All right.
Yes, you're right. Exactly. So now, well, I don't know which one is better, but there was a kind of policy proposal about congestion, especially in Zion National Park. So they limit the number of visitors per day. But local residents do not like it.
You don't like it?
because they will have less visitors because of that policy. So it has not been studied yet, but I don't know. We will see.
Okay. Thank you.
So the most of the visitors are international visitors or local?
That's a good
American
question.
visitors?
To be honest, I do not know. But I believe most of them come from outside of Utah, around California, Nevada, or Arizona. And we have, I don't know the percentage, some international visitors.
So the main problems come from the American people to visit the Zion Park.
I don't know.
So that's
But-
good news anyway.
The,
Yeah.
I'm sure there are many, many Chinese. And I can see the Chinese letters around the national park.
Professor Kim, I would like to know when the limitation per day, when the policy for the limitation start, because I think maybe it could be.
It has not been studied yet. That's a proposal.
They are going to be.
Yes, because parks too congested, and there are many, many complaints from visitors. Their experience is not good. So Utah government, not Utah government, U.S. government, because most of famous popular national park have the same
As
problem.
what you just said that in 2018 there will be another Mighty Five project, right?
Yes, yes.
And maybe the Mighty Five.
That's a
could-
different ad campaign. Based on the congestion on national park,
Yeah.
and based on this study,
Yeah.
and we know that the other four parks have more visitors due to the ad campaign,
Yeah.
and this is congested. So why don't we spread those visitors to other
Yeah.
national park? That will happen. So they started new ad campaign named Road to the Mighty Five,
Road.
and explain there's an Arches National Park and Canyonlands Park, which is, they didn't say it's better than Zion, but we have other than Zion in the Utah. So why don't you visit other national park? And there are, where I can see here, there are many other state parks as well. So visit state parks.
I think it would be a conflict to the limitation in the 95 project afterwards.
Okay,
Yes.
I do not see the conflict there.
Mm,
So the limit of visitors right here.
yeah.
Then visitors will go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then the road to Mighty Five campaign is to ask visitors to visit other national parks other than Zion's. I guess that's the similar policy impact. But again, the limitation of visitors has not been studied yet. This is a policy proposal.
I'm just curious about the government's policy, why they try to limit the visitors.
Because the
arrivals.
visitors are
They're
complaining.
complaining,
Mhm.
right? I know, but maybe they will be obey for the further policy.
Okay. What is a further policy?
Mighty new.
Oh, that's ad campaign. It's not a policy. Well, you can say that. Yes. Okay.
2018 Mighty
The
Five.
road
Mighty
to
Five.
Mighty Five, the new
The
ad
new
campaign.
one. It's a set, or it's just, I mean the government, how to promote that? Is a set, I mean
It's a very similar
Mighty
to-
Five, you can go
very
here,
similar.
here.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Show the road.
Yeah.
And here's a state park.
Oh.
When you go to the
Just
artist
follow
park,
that.
you can visit the state parks
Sure.
and so on.
So that might help to, to spread the
We hope.
messages.
We hope. Wish the results sometime later.
But it's more convenient for Zion. It's close to Los Angeles.
Yes.
So people will still want to visit big cities
Yes.
and take one day. to-
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct. And as I said, there's a big shuttle bus from Las Vegas to the Zion National Park every day.
Every day.
Yes.
More than, well, yeah.
How far
I-
from here?
Roughly 1 hour and 1 hour and 30 minutes. It's very close. It's very close. And one of Americans' dream is that arrive in Las Vegas and enjoy some gambles and look around 5 national parks and go back. Here's the Grand Canyon National Park is right here. they move around like this, like a week or 10-day long trip, which is called Grand Circle. That's the kind of.
That's very good.
Yeah. But as you said, most of them visit Zion National Park and go back.
But any benefits, when the government promotes, it's a set to visit all the national park. I mean, for the 2018 Mighty 5 event. So what's the visitor get? Is a free ticket for visits every national park in one times or in certain periods? No, just to promote. We have
It's a promotion.
Oh.
We let them know, here's the park. Why don't you visit here?
You have to give some discount. The other national park. Maybe it will attract more people who want to move far.
I don't know.
Centers.
Could be.
Any question? Give one. Sabrina. Later. Okay. 继续 first. No. Okay.
Yes.
I'm wondering about the conclusion of net present benefit, about how you use discount rate to
Okay.
to it.
I do not have that information here. Instead, I just calculate number of more visitors, which is close more than 1 million, and I get that's it. And 1 million, and I just multiply the average spending, visitor spending. I got that number from National Park Service's website. They provide the dollar per person expenditure. And then, are you familiar with input-output analysis? Not really? Okay, so everything is related. If we have one more visitor in a national park, he or she will spend some money in a hotel, restaurant, grocery stores, and find some souvenir, and pay some gas, and so on, right? But those money multiply the regional economy, which is a multiplier impact. And now I can calculate, which is $140 million. So in a region, due to the Mighty 5, the southern part of the U.S., Utah has $140 million more, and which is roughly 2,000 more jobs. So the national parks support in southern Utah support close to 20,000 jobs. Roughly 10% more jobs is created due to the Mighty 5 campaign. And then this is the government spending to promote or used in Mighty 5, roughly $3 million. So we can use those two numbers and find out benefit cost number if you want, which is much, much larger. I don't know how many, 80? No.
For just 1 year, right?
Yes, this is the annual number. Yes,
Just annual.
just 1 year. Yes.
2013. Is that right?
Okay, this is the average of
Is that-
from 2013 to 2017.
Right.
Yes, 5-year average. So I can present as an annual number, not the sum of all 5 years.
Right. But
Yes.
but you spend one time, but still, get those returns.
Yes, over time.
And over time,
And
right?
yes, again and again and again.
Exactly, right.
I do not know the total spending after 2013. This is kind of initial spending
Sure.
to shoot the videos
Exactly.
and the magazines.
Start
And yes,
the program and then
yes,
get a
exactly.
receipt every-
Exactly.
But this including, before the events, the government should announce something. So
Mhm.
they should spend something already. So this 3.1 million is including before 2013. Government already put effort on.
Maybe, yes.
Yeah.
But as I said, this is the 5-year average. So I don't have to worry about the sum of 5 years spending. This is the maximum spending for 1 year.
But I mean before 2013, the government should announce something. They already
Right.
spent to attract, tourists to come after 2013.
Okay, yes.
So maybe you have to add more for the Utah government spending.
Okay. Yes.
I don't know.
Well,
Just
well, I
suggestion.
don't know. I don't know how much they spend, but this is a number from
This
the
is
Utah
a
government.
real
They
amount.
spend $3 million to promote
market
the Mighty
those,
Five.
yeah, Mighty Five. Right.
That's a number from Utah government. So I'm just using the number. I'm not sure if they add all the numbers before 2013 or not.
At first you mentioned about weather in Utah is totally different. It's dry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since your data just from 2013 to 2017.
1993 to 2013. Sorry,
I think
17.
the effect.
Oh, yes,
Effect.
Correct.
Effect just 5 years. How about the season effect?
this is the annual data set, so we don't have to worry about the seasonal change. And this is the selective, the national parks. As you can see, the visitor number, I don't see any seasonality here. The reason is, again, this is the annual number.
So
If we have a monthly,
yeah.
it's highly cyclical, of course.
I just wondered if we want to promote something, maybe season effect is more
Okay,
correct.
the seasonal effect.
People go to visit to national park. It's
Mostly during
different,
spring and
yeah,
summertime.
Yeah. So my problem is your year effect is significant, right?
This is the annual data set. I just add all the monthly visitor numbers.
Yes.
So because of that, the seasonality disappears. So I don't have to worry about summer or spring or winter because it's the annual data set. And this is a plot of visitors. As you can see, there's no seasonality. Pretty constant over time. So any negative slope. And around 2008 to 2010, we have some negative, something like this, because of financial crisis. And then after that, U.S. economy becomes very good, which is roughly 2012 and 2013. And I guess because of that, we have some positive increases in number of visitors, most of national parks. I'm not sure if that's the answer for your question.
有回答你的问题。
Maybe I will try again and
Sure.
I will,
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Any
Thank you.
question? Anyone? How about question?
Personal
no.
question.
Yes.
Professor Kim, I have reviewed your profile.
Mhm.
As I know, you have already a lot of agriculture field journals. And
Okay.
what motivated you to explore tourism economy?
Oh, okay. My research agenda is based where I defined myself as a regional economist with subspecialty of ag economics, resource economics, and environmental economics. So this is one of the regional economics topics. And initially, I have a study about impact of wildfire
Yeah.
on regional economy. And when I have that study, I found out that there was a Mighty Five. Because what I did was that wildfire impact on the visitors in the national park. So while I'm doing that, I realized that there was a Mighty Five ad campaign, and this is kind of an extra study. That's why I moved that way. Okay.
有人想问吗？有没有问？Okay. One question.
Sure.
I'm still wondering, how do you estimate, or you don't estimate it, you give the certain number to your weight, is that right? Or which program is programming for the weight?
The authors who developed synthetic control methods, they upload their source code for this data, R, and so on.
Do you need to estimate that or not?
The W,
Oh,
that's estimation, yes.
okay, but which
To
way?
minimize,
Or minimize, you
Minimize
mean the
MSP.
formula.
yes,
Yeah.
to minimize this one
Oh,
and find out that it's kind of a minimization problem. So where I have a small Excel sheet to demonstrate it, I don't have here. So so using the multiplication here, this is the visitor numbers in other national park. And this is the unknown number we're
Yes.
gonna find out. And then this is actual vegetation.
Yeah.
Then we will have some numbers right here. And add them all and minimize that.
Oh, okay.
Then the optimization processor will try various
right.
combination of the W
Vary the W.
to minimize MSPE.
Yeah.
And now I have a set of W, which is, now this is the way to find out this, which is the characteristics of a national park and number of visitors. So using those weights, I can plot them here, like this. So because we are minimizing the errors between, error means the difference between these two. So the dotted line must be close before 2013, and then different beyond 2013, which means that intervention has an impact. If they're close like this, there's no impact of intervention.
So your T0 minus 1, which means T0 is not time 0.
No, this is a 2013. I
Yeah.
should say that T0 is 2013.
Uh-huh.
So I should have said,
So it's before 2013.
correct, the data set before 2013. And then plot, project beyond 2013 and compare actual number and the number from synthetic decimal point.
Minimize.
Which minimize the,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes,
The
minimize the distance, correct. So actually, in actuals, the script, it is the minimization of a distance function. Yeah, I have, to make it easier, I have MSP here, but actually that's going to be the distance function from national park, the national park in Utah and other national, sorry. Converse combination of other national park is the close, sorry. Distance between converse combination of a national park outside Utah and a national park in Utah. Zion, for example, yes, yes. And minimize that distance. Yes.
Any question? Anyone can ask a question.
So you can
Practice.
I have one more.
sure.
I just want to ask you an idea about like the output. It just prove that the Mighty create like income, more income into the area.
Uh-huh.
And what about the topic about income equality in the area? Is that
Income
like,
equality.
I mean like after the Mighty was implement about the income gap of people in that area.
Oh,
It's
well,
just,
I don't know.
I just like that is like further like what about your idea?
I have not thought about that at all. Well, I don't know. But that's, well, income inequality is one of my research agenda. I have not done yet anything, but I do not know. I'm sorry, I can't answer that question.
Answer your question?
Yeah,
The answer is no. I have not thought about that.
because I come from Thailand. And
Okay.
And then right now government try to create like community-based tourism in the area.
Okay.
And then some researchers prove that the income gap after
Oh,
employment,
okay.
the like tourism thing is just create like more the gap
Oh, really?
in the local area, because like lots of money just go into their like hotel sector.
Okay.
Because they have more.
I see.
capital.
But not local residents.
Yeah, right. So I just
Ah,
like,
okay.
do you have any
That's a very good point.
comment about this kind of topic?
That's a very good point. That could be another paper in the future. Yeah, that's a very good point. I didn't see that. Very nice point, yes.
Yeah, but normally sometimes we care about the income, you know. In
Right,
this
the
region,
aggregate,
and
right.
then we spend more, you know, for the tourists.
Not the distribution.
But that's a national park. It's very expensive, you know.
National park?
I don't know, or free.
Oh,
Do
you
you
have
need
to,
to
you have to
pay?
pay, yes, of course.
So it's the
I don't know how
entry
much.
cost.
In a peak season, the hotel is very expensive. So like $300 US dollars per day.
Oh, per day, $300 per day.
Per day in peak season.
Oh.
So most of them prefer camping, which is roughly $25 per day, $20 to $25 per day.
So it's cheaper.
Oh, much
Oh,
cheaper,
much
but
cheaper.
very competitive.
Oh.
So you have to make a reservation in February
One
to,
year.
to
Okay.
visit. So you can, if I remember correctly, I might be wrong. You can reserve the camping site like 6 months before. So if you want to visit in July, you have to make a reservation in February. It's very competitive.
Have you been there?
No, I've been to other like what is it called? Grand Canyon.
Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I've been to Grand Canyon and some other national parks up in Washington State.
Okay. Olympic National Park.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So those 5 national parks is much similar to the Grand Canyon
yeah, that's
because
what I'm thinking.
it's along the Colorado River.
Yeah.
Yes.
And since also the geographic location and also the formation of the environment is also pretty similar.
Yes, you're right. You're right. And Zion's National Park looks a little bit different, but arches and the Capitol Reef are very similar to the Grand Canyon.
So did you need to make a reservation before?
That time we did made a reservation, but it was like only 3 months ago, so it wasn't like half a year or a
But
year.
that's camping.
For the camping site.
So for the camping site, it's up in Olympic, so it's
Okay.
probably a little bit different.
Maybe.
But we made the reservation around 2 months, I believe, because it's a
2 months prior to
yeah.
your
'cause
visit.
it wasn't that crowded, and the season was it's off season, so it's not peak.
Okay.
Let's go on.
So she is your student, right? The tourism.
Yeah,
Tourism.
yeah, right.
That's tourism.
The
Another
student,
one is tourism.
Ah,
And then she is
okay,
also
sorry.
my student.
Because the national park has already many visitors, right?
The Zion's National
Yeah,
Park, yes.
Yeah, but as the visitor getting more, you will have more income.
Mhm.
But more visitors, maybe they will damage the environment.
Yes.
So you may cost more to fix that. Do you need more?
With this study, we do not consider that part, but you're right. Yes, there is a big concern, especially the environmental degradation concern. So Utah government has some concerns about that. That's another reason for us to implement some
limit the
restrictions
visitor.
for the visitors. The visitors complaining and the environmental degradations,
Maybe
that's the big
it
issue.
will cost more for the.
Could be. But in this paper, we do not consider that part. A very good question.
Now anyone want to try to ask one question? 梦龙有问吗？有吗？要试试看吗？
很生活化。Have you been to any of those national parks?
Arches and Zion, not other two. As I said, it's very remote places. You have to drive a lot.
Yeah.
But Zion's, the accessibility of Zion's and Arches parks much better than the other three.
That's why.
You should come someday.
Yeah.
就这样吧，试试看。
Have you
Yes.
ever evaluated the economic value for this fund?
Economic value.
Yeah, like long market value, like in travel.
Oh,
cost
okay.
better and to-
No, I have not. but I'm pretty sure there are some researchers who did that. The value of visiting national parks, I'm pretty sure. But I have not.
好，最后一个机会，还有任何人要问吗？那个，我来点名那个谁啊？祝伟有想问吗 ？Do you want to ask him？ 玉洁，看你刚刚想要问，有没有要问？纯粹是有没有
The mayo is not good. I can figure that out.
No, I think that they are shy. They are so worried to speak English.
Worried about it? Don't worry about it. I'm not a native speaker, so don't worry about it.
若颖有吗？
If you don't have any question about the study, that's fine. You can ask me something else, like the PhD program in the U.S. or the preparation of grad studies in the U.S. If you're a master's student, by the way.
They also have a PhD student here.
Okay, but the PhD students, postdoc.
That's the first. I'm interested in your vector W. Vector.
W, okay.
You use the average, and there are many zero, right?
Yes, it is a weighted average, and I didn't put any zeros. When I try to minimize the MSPE, when I try to minimize this one, which is the difference between actual visitors and the visitors from weighted average. And WI is unknown numbers I should estimate. When I do this, the computer says that's the best weight to generate actual, let me say this way. So this is the set of best weight, which is make the synthetic visitors is close to the actual visitors. Of course, it is not possible to find out the same visitor numbers using the visitors outside the Utah, of course. That's the errors. And we are trying to minimize that errors. So, in doing so, many of national parks have a zero weight. And the computer told me that they are all zero. But there are 5 or 6 national parks. That's the good one in terms of park characteristics and vegetations. And then I can plot those dotted lines using the dotted lines is this. And actual line is this right here. And the dark line, solid line. And dotted line is the weighted average of other national parks. So park characteristics and a vegetation. So now we compare these two numbers. If they are very different like this, then we can conclude that intervention or ad campaign has an impact. If the plot looks like this, they are very close, meaning that ad campaign doesn't have any impact. And I should have prepared the Excel sheet to demonstrate how to find the W values. Actually, I have somewhere.
We can book another.
Right?
we would like to learn.
Okay.
They want to run. They want to keep
Well, and let's meet some other time.
We invite Kim to come here again. So
Yeah, I'll be here next week. So.
I want to ask you a question. Not all.
Okay.
I want to know what your master degree is.
My
master degree.
master degree.
Topic of essay.
Okay.
Essay.
Could you please again?
What is your master dissertation?
Master dissertation.
Master thesis. I
This
think that
master thesis topics.
he tried to figure out how do you find and how do you define and
How do I find my research topic
research
for my
topic,
dissertation with physics?
Physics.
Oh, okay. I don't remember. For my dissertation was, frankly, the topic come from my advisor.
Yes.
So my advisor gave me the research topic. So why don't you try this one as your dissertation topic? And I liked it. It's about climate change at the time. So I liked it. Did it.
Okay. Thank you.
Actually, the Professor Kim has the same supervisor with the Professor Ji Zhong Chen in,
Yeah.
in which
Texas
Texas,
A&M University.
yeah.
Texas, Mr. McCall.
Uh-huh. Ji Zhong Chen was the postdoc when I was in a first year PhD students at Texas A&M. And he may not remember me.
I mentioned
He
it one
definitely
time. I think
Maybe he vaguely remembered me, but not. We don't have, I mean, we are not that close at the time because, again, I'm a first year PhD student. He was the PhD postdoc fellow. He's up there, so I don't have a chance to meet him in person. Even though I have the same advisor.
You made it on TV now. Every day.
Yeah, I
every
know.
day. Almost.
Almost every day.
Yes. Okay, so one question last. Any question? You don't need to mention this if you cannot hear well. Yeah. Anything? Yeah.
Professor Kim, thank
Yes.
you for your presentation.
Oh yeah, thank you.
I just wanted to ask, you said there's another campaign coming up, the Road to the
Road
Mindify.
to the
Road.
Mindify.
Are
Yes.
you in any way involved in this campaign, or are you
No,
just
no, no,
representing-
no.
You will just,
I happen to know the Mindify campaign
yeah.
and just did a study.
Yeah.
And then the government agency contacted me because I have this study, and they know that I'm doing this. So I met them and make a presentation about the study, and that is all. Not sure if they will ask me to do something else later or not.
Do you know what the campaign is about, though, the Mindify, the Road to the Mindify?
That campaign introduced other state parks, not focusing on the 5 national parks. So the other campaign says there are other state parks on the road to the Mindify. So why don't you visitors visit state parks? That's the campaign. That's why, because of the complicating issues, I dropped 2018 numbers. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so no question now. 之前有吗？ he's so scared. Look at me. Any question? No. So it's a pressure times. We have a Professor Kim here, really, because he only give lectures for IBPA this time. So we hope to, invite him to come to our department next time, so he
That would be great.
have time to visit us.
I love to.
And I hope that he can try to give a lecture, something about the econometrics, if you feel
And
like it.
optimization, because as I said, I have the same advisor with the Ji Zhong Chen.
Yeah,
I believe he taught the linear programming here, optimization,
Yes.
and LP, GAMS, that kind of stuff. I can do that too.
Yeah, replace him.
Yeah, okay.
No, now is a good chance because now he is not in the department.
Right.
He's goes
what
somewhere
I'm saying.
for government. So you are welcome to come here.
It's not going to come back. That's very good to know.
I think he will be very happy to, to welcome you to here.
Okay.
To teach that something.
That would be great.
He cannot teach for the moment.
That
So,
would be great.
Professor Chen, do you have something to say?
Yeah, well, I would say that thanks again
Oh, thank you.
from your presentation. It's very interesting, and I think it's very inspiring. And I believe that we can learn a lot, not only from the idea of your study, but also the fancy attraction of your national park. And I hope we have an opportunity in the future
Yeah,
to visit
in the
you.
future, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Let me know.
Sure, definitely. Okay. Thank you very again for your
Thank you.
your presentation. Thank you. Sure.
The Professor Jimin, do you have something to say? A little bit. I know that you met each other maybe every day, no? In the IBPA. Huh?
Yeah, but not every day, but
No.
yeah.
Very
Yes, you're
often.
right.
No.
Very often, yeah.
No. Do you have something to say?
I-
And
Actually, I really admire tired, like econ students. The discussion is very positive and very deep, and the professors are also very happy to understand the student question to answer. I hope IBP students also can do that.
But we also welcome the
Yeah,
IBPA
welcome.
students to join us. This is no problem. And next time, if we will invite the Professor Kim to our department, we will also welcome the IBPA students, if you're still there, okay? And then today, I think it's a good chance to talk to, English to the Professor Kim. And no need to worry about to say English. I hope that you really, say something. Even though ask some simple question, I think the Professor Kim are very happy to answer
agree.
you. And this is also a very good chance to listen, to the English. I think the Professor Kim's speed, when his presentation is very slow, and I try to, make you understand what the picture he was talking. So I hope you enjoy the presentation, and I also hope we have a, continue.
Okay. That would be my.
Yeah. So we thank him. Okay, so.